Money FM 89.3, best of weekends.
The topic of our foreign workers has been front and center, of course, during Phase 2 and during the circuit breaker due to the infections that they have suffered. Many organizations around town and many individuals have reached out trying to help them, supplying them with goods that they can use and other forms of support. The group ItsRainingRaincoats has provided hot meals, care packs, essential items, even data top-ups and mobile phones to many of some 800 residents have been involved in helping out with that across the island. Dipa Swaminathan is the founder of ItsRainingRaincoats, and she joins us now on the phone to talk about their initiatives toward helping the foreign workers. Dipa, welcome to Money FM.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. And I know that you were in the midst of a campaign to raise some money for the foreign workers. And tell us what's been going on with that and where you're at with your fundraising.
Well, I'm very thankful to BBH, which started a video campaign, with the song. And, the hashtag was Thank You for Our Home. And, I thought the imagery of the video, which is for people who haven't seen it, the song is available on our Facebook page of It's Raining Raincoats. It basically, portrays, it overlays images of migrant workers on various parts of the city, acknowledging their role as the men who built all the buildings and all the facilities that we enjoy. And there was a donation link on it, which linked to Ray of Hope campaign in support of It's Raining Raincoats. We ourselves are not registered, so the money goes directly into Ray of Hope. And then from there, it gets dispersed to vendors who provide things for migrant workers. So we've raised, I think, about $21,000 now. But It's Raining Raincoats, as you said earlier, we've distributed close to 600,000 meals for migrant workers, several tens of thousands of data top-up, care packs, essentials, in multiples. But we are purely volunteer-run, so we have zero overheads. We've done all this without any admin costs, without any salaries, any office costs, because we're purely volunteer-run and driven. So every single dollar donated to any of these campaigns in support of us, 100% of the proceeds goes to the migrant workers. And we're very grateful for all the support that we get because there's, close to a million migrant workers in Singapore. And, no amount is really enough.
Yeah, we're talking with Dipa Swaminathan, the founder of It's Raining Raincoats. And on a personal level, Dipa, let me just say, I think this is a wonderful initiative. One of the truly uplifting stories of what has been a very depressing narrative of COVID-19. And I just wanted to ask you, on a personal level to you, what was your inspiration? What was it that made you say, today I'm going to start this initiative off? What was the turning point for you?
Well, there wasn't a day when I just sort of, flung off the bed covers and announced to the world that I was going to start It's Raining Raincoats. But, it happened quite by accident. I've told the story many times, so, apologies if you've heard it before. But it was just one of those, it was providence, I suppose. I mean, it was a day when it was raining and I was driving home from the gym and I saw these two workers on my road stuck in a pouring thunderstorm without rain covers or an umbrella or everything. And they were soaking wet. And I kind of drove past them and, felt really sad, about their plight. But then something made me stop and reverse. And then I insisted they get into my car. And, I took them home. They stayed in my front porch till the rain stopped. And I, gave them my, some food and drinks, some dry clothes to change into from my husband's closet, and then, sent them off with my number when the rain stopped and they went. And I said, if you ever need any help, I'm a lawyer and, call me. And about 3 months later, I got a call from the Singapore police to say that one of those two men had tried to commit suicide. Mm-hmm. And the only number he had with him was mine. I found that so touching in the first place that in the whole of this country, the only number this poor worker had was mine. So I went to post bail and eventually, appealed on his behalf to the Singapore police, and they dropped all charges against him. And the reason he tried to commit suicide was that he had not been paid for 6 months. So they also got the employer to pay him all his back wages. And, it was a happy ending to that story for that worker. But it was a powerful revelation to me that, with just a little bit of time investment, I was able to change the course events for this one individual. And so I started helping them in my personal capacity. And then one of these stories ended up going viral on social media, and then the Singapore Kindness Movement came forward and said, why don't you start something? I'd heard the song It's Raining Men, and so hence the name It's Raining Raincoats, which is now a bit of a tongue twister. But yeah, that's how it was born. And, we've grown from then to now where we have over 500 volunteers. And it's been a great journey.
Well, firstly, let me contradict one part. It's not a story you hear every day in Singapore, to be quite frankly. I would say quite the opposite. For you to just pull over, pick up those two guys and look after them is a wonderfully positive story that, unfortunately, we don't necessarily hear enough of. Having said that, somehow you've managed to corral and convince and persuade and inspire 500 other volunteers to step forward. How did that come about? How did you manage to attract so many people to such a worthy cause?
Well, I think it's the cause that inspires and draws them. And, to be fair, we've not had too much attrition either. So a lot of our volunteers, have been there since the very early days, when It's Raining Raincoats sort of formally began as a ground-up movement. And as I say, it's the cause that draws them. I think a lot of people want to give back to these workers and they don't quite know how to. And, we provide very sort of simple, nimble, imaginative ways in which people can connect with the workers and express their gratitude or support or, just their empathy, for them. And so if any of your listeners want to, connect with us or join us, we are on Instagram and Facebook under It's Raining Raincoats. And, we have an amazing social media team of volunteers who respond to all messages very promptly. So, we're always very happy to hear from people. But I should say that now It's Raining Raincoats, I may be speaking to you, but it's the team. We have an amazing team of volunteer leaders. All of them organically evolve into their roles, and it's because of them that we're able to do what we do. So, it takes a village, and, we have a very thriving village.
Speaking with Dipa Swaminathan, the founder of It's Raining Raincoats. And Dipa, as you look across Singapore's foreign worker landscape, in recent years, from a positive perspective, more people on the ground are getting involved in trying to support foreign workers and giving them the praise that they deserve for the hard work that they do. But are you noticing since COVID-19, the last 6 months or so, how are they doing? What else do they need? Are the physical distancing measures that have been put in place, do they seem to be working at the various dorms where they're staying? What does the situation appear to be right now from what you and your volunteers are seeing?
Well, I think, we're turning a corner. I mean, I think, months of isolation and being kept indoors with the uncertainty of, whether they were going to get paid and, what was going to happen to them, that was a lot to endure. I mean, you can imagine just being locked, people who are doing quarantine for 14 days in hotels, etc., already expressing how uncomfortable that is. So you can imagine being indoors for months. But I think we're turning a corner now, with more of them coming back to work. All they really want is to be able to work and earn an honest day's wage to send back home. As long as that is happening, I think their mindset will be positive. And we're seeing more. I mean, you yourself must have seen as you're going around Singapore, more construction sites coming alive and roadworks and all of this happening. So. And, we are working also closely with the MOM, so they're also invested in trying to see how to improve, the mental health of the workers, and a lot of other groups are, doing the same. So I'm hoping that, with all of this, the situation for them will only continue to improve from here on. Obviously, there's a lot more work to be done in terms of their overall living conditions and other improvements that we can bring about. I mean, we've learned a lot of lessons through this crisis about them. And I hope those lessons don't go to waste.
That's the key point I think you made there, Dipa. We've learned a lot of lessons. One of the positives, if you can call it that, of COVID-19 is it has shone a light, hasn't it, on the lives, the day-to-day experiences of our migrant workers and what needs to be improved, their living standards, their salaries, payment or lack of, and so on. And some of those points you very eloquently demonstrated. But also to balance that, in the last couple of weeks, there's no denying either that we have seen some rising xenophobic incidents, particularly directed towards South Asian workers in the last few weeks, forcing government ministers and various businesses to speak publicly about foreigner, local worker ratios and so on. What has been your experience and observations of this situation in Singapore?
Well, I'll restrict my comments specifically to the migrant workers. I mean, even during the peak of the crisis, you may have heard about, some letters written into, forum-type pages or letters written in from readers to certain, publications expressing, xenophobic sentiments about migrant workers. I mean, I remember one of the comments was, they're unhygienic because they sit on the roadsides to eat. And I was thinking, when you do road works, you're paving a roadside, where are you supposed to go and eat? Not at a table at the Ritz-Carlton.
Exactly.
You're given an hour and you only have a pavement.
Yeah.
They have to sit and eat there. And frankly, they wash their hands after every meal, which is one of the things we learned to do during COVID was to wash our hands more. And these guys already do that, So, there are those kinds of unfortunate sentiments expressed. But, we choose not to pay too much attention to them. There is a song which goes accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. So we choose to accentuate the positive, which is that so many other people have come forward, to get involved with groups like us to help the workers. Our own volunteer ranks have swelled to almost double their original numbers during this crisis. So I think the way to change these kinds of sentiments are for people who hear them to speak up and counter them politely but firmly with enough information. So everybody has a role to play in sort of balancing out, the negative narrative. And we hope that by showcasing the stories of, positive interactions between Singaporeans and migrant workers, that can be sort of the new norm, that it's cool, to be kind. I mean, that's what we'd like to see portrayed.
Dipa, if individuals or even corporates want to get in touch with you to contribute in some way, whether it's cash or people, manpower, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so we have an email, which I'll be happy to announce now. It's ItsRainingRaincoats@gmail.com. So we have that email. And as I said, our social media pages, It's Raining Raincoats on Facebook and Instagram. If they would just ping us a message there, it's very easy for people to contact us. If they write into your show, you're most welcome to share my number, and, they can contact me directly as well.
Fantastic. Dipa Swaminathan, the founder of It's Raining Raincoats, helping our migrant workers around town. Thank you for all the work you're doing, the great and necessary work, and you and your 500 volunteers, and thanks for sharing that with us on Money FM.
Wonderful.
Thanks very much, Glenn, for having me, and have a lovely weekend.